Hello everyone, welcome to Byte by Byte. My name is Asmita, I am your host. I'm thrilled to start this new journey with all of you. Our first playlist is going to be Python. Python is one of the powerful and versatile programming languages in the world. So if you are a beginner who is attempting to dive into the world of coding, or you are an experienced professional who just wants to brush up your skills, so this playlist got you covered. So after Python, we will dive into fascinating world of machine learning. So this is a very new field with endless possibilities. So this is going to be our next phase. So if you like what you see, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Hello all, welcome to the first session on data science. So in this particular session, we are going to cover Python introduction. So objective of today's lecture is introduction to Python. Then we are going to see Python, what are Python data types. Then we are going to see what are Python operators. And lastly, we are going to see some examples depending on whatever we have studied. Okay. So next thing is introduction to Python. Now, Python is a high-level interpreted programming language. Now, what is a high level? High level means the low-level details of any language is hidden by your Python, and you are provided with the platform which is very easy to see, and on that platform you can very easily code your language. Okay. It is an interpreted programming language as well, but this part we will see later on. This particular language is known for its simplicity and readability. Okay. So now we will see the birth of Python. So Python was created by Guido van Rossum, which was first released in 1991. Okay. So Guido van Rossum developed Python as a hobby project. Okay. So when he was working at CWI Netherlands, this was his hobby project. So what was the design philosophy that was behind Python? So the main focus was on simplicity, readability, and easy to use. That means they wanted to create a language which will be very simple, easy to read, and easy to use. Whenever a programming language is simple, readable, and easy to use, the user or the developer can focus on what is the problem and not invest its time to understand how the syntax works and how everything works. So your Python was created keeping in mind that this particular language will be simple, readable, and easy to use. Now the key features of Python. So first feature of Python is it is easy to learn and read. Okay, so this particular language is very easy to learn and very easy to read. Now I'm saying that. So side by side we will see the first example of how it is easy to learn and easy to use. Okay. So here we will say the implementation part of the Python we are going to see in Google Colab. Okay. So here we will say Google Colab. If you want to create a new notebook, this is the platform that you are provided with. Now, any programming language, you take any programming language in the world, the first program is by default you are printing the hello world program. Okay, so that means my objective is to print hello world onto the screen. Okay, so we are going to do that with the help of Python. Okay, so you don't know anything about Python, but just be patient and just look at the screen. So for printing something onto the screen, Python have provided with the inbuilt function called as print. Okay, So within that, you are going to pass whatever that you want to print onto the screen. So hello world. Okay. So this is I want to print. Now I'm done with whatever I want to do. So the next part is I want to run this. So after running this whatever we have passed into this print, it should be visible on screen. So let's see whether it happens or not. If you want to run the cell, you can click on this particular icon. You can say shift enter. Okay. So whatever you have passed onto the screen, whatever you have passed on in the print function, that you can see onto the screen. So this is your first program. Now just think, you don't know anything. You don't know the programming language, but this is the first program, and it is very easy to understand as well. So this was the idea behind creating your Python. Okay, so the next part we are going to see is second feature of your Python, which is interacted and interpreted and interactive. Now we have written the code. We have written our first code, that is printing the hello world. But whenever we write something, we need to check it whether whatever we have written, it is correct or not. So that is the work of your interpreter. Okay. So whatever you have written, it is written in a simple programming language. But that language is understood to you. We have to convert it into the language so that your machine will also understand. So that is the work of your interpreter, to convert whatever code you have written into the machine understandable code. So that is the work of the interpreter. So what interpreter does is, it goes through your code line by line and it creates the output. Okay, it goes through your code line by line. So that means it is also interactive. Okay, if you have any problem at any line, it will tell you, you will solve that problem and then you will go ahead. Okay, so interactive means, in this way, whenever you are working on a big project, so before launching the final product, you have to present the idea, or you have to present, you can say, a small software which is known as prototype to the customer. At that particular point of time, Python can help you. Okay, so next feature is dynamically typed. So dynamically typed means, in many other programming languages, there is a concept called as variable declaration. Okay, so whenever you want to declare a variable, you want to use a variable, you have to declare it first. Means if you want to use a number type of variable, you have to declare its type. But in Python, you do not need to worry about that. You can directly use whatever variable you want to use, or whatever number you want to use. The type of that particular thing will be taken care at the backend. Okay, so that is called as the dynamically typed. Next feature is your general purpose programming language. Okay, so what is general purpose programming language? So Python has been used for many purposes. Okay, so in case of web development, we can use Python. Data analysis purpose, machine learning purpose, deep learning libraries. So most of the domains that you can think of, you can apply this particular programming language. So that's why it is called as general purpose programming language. Okay, so next feature is object oriented programming. So what is object oriented programming? So object oriented programming, this is, I will give you the brief idea. So the idea is, there is a structure called as class. Okay, in the class you have methods as well as attributes. And if you want to access those methods and attributes, you have to create an instance of a class, which is called as an object. So with the help of object, you can use those. So this is object-oriented programming. It's a very sophisticated thing that Python has offered, which helps you to make your code very easily readable and very handy as well. I know it's there are many terms that you don't know, but trust me, this is a very efficient form of programming. Okay, the next feature of Python is very important. It's free and as well as it's an open source software. So it's a free software means that software is easily available to you. You can download it, you can use it as per your requirement. Okay. Next part is it has extensive library support. Extensive library support means if you want to handle input output devices, if you want to handle data manipulation, if you want to implement machine learning algorithms. So Python provide you with the extensive library support to do that. Okay, you do not need to implement anything by yourself. Everything is implemented within the libraries. You can import those libraries and you can use the functions. So these are your key features of the Python. So the next part and very important part that we are going to see now is creating a variable and assigning values to it. So first of all, we will see what is a variable. So variable allows us to store and manipulate the data in our programs. Okay, this is a very efficient form of method to create a variable and assigning a value. So this is the syntax of your for creating a variable and assigning a value. So what is the syntax? Variable name is equal to value. So we'll see how it works. So as I've said to you, the syntax is this is your syntax. Now let's say I am saying my variable name is x is equal to my value is 10. So what am I doing here is I'm assigning this 10 value to x. Okay. So this 10 value will be stored into your variable called as x. So this is the idea behind your creating a variable name and assigning a value to it. So this value will be assigned to this variable and we can easily now use this variable for our programming or manipulation purpose. Okay. Now there are rules for creating a variable in Python. So we will just summarize these rules very quickly and see. So what are the rules? So the rules are, first of all, variable names can contain your letters. So it can be a capital letter or small, it can be a capital case or small case. Okay, that means A to Z, small a to Z, capital A to Z. You can use any of the characters that you want. Next part is digits. So digits, you can have a combination of digits from 0 to 9, any combination that you want. Along with that, you can also use underscores. Okay. Next part is they must start with the letter or an underscore. Okay. Next part, they cannot start with a digit. You can start with the letter or underscore, but you cannot start with the digit. Okay. Next part, this particular language, Python, is case sensitive. This part you need to understand. So what do you mean by case sensitive? That means this age is different from this age, which is different from this age. That means this particular age that first we are referring to, which is in a completely small case. But the second thing, here we have a sentence case. Sentence case means our first letter of that particular word is capital. Last is every letter is in the capital. This age is different from this age is different from this age. Okay, so that's why it is called as the case sensitive. This all of the variables are different, considered different. Okay, avoid using reserved keywords. Now there are list of keywords that are reserved. You cannot use those keywords while creating the variables. Okay, so we will see what are those keywords first. Okay, so here let's see. Now understand one thing. If you want to use libraries that are available in Python, you have to import those libraries first and then you can use it. Okay, so I want to show you what are the keywords. So I will import a library called keyword, and in print I will say I want to print keyword list. Okay, so here if I run this, okay, so this is, you can say, a list of keywords that are available with Python. You cannot use these particular keywords while creating your variable. Okay, so these keywords should not be used. Other than that, any combination of alphabet and numbers you can use. Okay, now this was all, these were all very heavy rules, so we'll just see examples. Okay, so first example is your age. This is the variable name, this is your assignment sign, and this is your value. So age is equal to 25 means this 25 is assigned to a variable called as age. Okay, next thing is name is equal to John Doe. Now this John Doe is assigned to a variable called as name. Here in age and name we are following the rules. That means the variable name can contain letters from A to Z. Okay. Next thing is, these rules are for creating the variable names. Okay. So variable names mean we are concerned with the part that is on the left side of this particular symbol. Okay. So next part is each student. So each student is equal to true. That means true is assigned to each student. Now if we see our previous slide, your variable name can have underscore along with this combination. That means it can contain letters as well as underscores. So we have such combination is underscore student and is equal to true. Next part is height underscore centimeter is equal to 175.5. So 175.5, this is the value which is assigned to height underscore centimeters. Okay. So we'll see here. So here also you can just say age is equal to 25. Okay. So whenever I say age is equal to 25, now I have assigned it. But if I want to print it onto the screen, so I will say print age. So whenever I say print age, so whatever value that age variable contains, that will be printed onto the screen. Here, now we will see one more point, that here, second part, that this particular thing is case sensitive. Now we are going to see that with the example. Okay. Now I have declared age as this particular thing. Okay, now if I say print age, okay, now see what happens. Okay, here it will give me, it is giving me a name error, that is name age is not defined, because whatever we have defined is this particular thing. That means that variable has all small letters, but this particular thing age has capital letters. That means this particular variable and this particular variable is different. That's why this language is case sensitive. You have to be very, very careful while declaring variables, while using the variable names. Okay. So the next part. Now the next part is Python data types. Now, so in Python data types, we have these Python data types are categorized into two parts, numeric data types and non-numeric data types. Okay. So numeric, and second thing is non-numeric. Okay. So if I want to see numeric, it has int, that is integer, float, and complex data type, as well as it has one more thing called as the Boolean data type. Okay. The non-numeric that we are considering, we are for the time purpose, we are just saying that we will see string data type. Okay. So this is the thing that we are initially going to see. Okay. So two parts, that is first is numeric, second is non-numeric. As the name suggests, numeric data types is going to have something to do with numbers, and as non-numeric it will not having any numbers. So we will see now one by one what is this. Okay. So first is numeric data type. So it is called as the int, float, or complex. Second is it is also called as a sequence data type or non-numeric data type, which is nothing but string. And the third thing is the Boolean data type, which is true or false. So first thing, so we'll start with the numeric data type. So before going into its types, we will first understand what is numeric data type. So numeric data types in Python are used to represent numerical values. Okay, if you want numerical values, you will use numerical data types. Now first type is integer, or it is called as int. Okay, so if you want to present a number without any decimal point, then it is called as the integer. That means example is 5, -3, 0. These are your integer numbers. Okay. Next part is float. So what is float? So float means your whole numbers along with decimal point. So whenever this type of representation you see whole numbers along with decimal points, so that particular thing is called as a float, numeric floating type. So floating type means example 3.14 -0.5, 2.0. These are examples of int and float. The next part is complex data type. So complex data types, in this particular data type, your number is divided into two parts. So first is real part and second is imaginary part. So the real part is can be declared by your number, but the imaginary part, it has given with the suffix. So this is the syntax, or this is the structure they have decided or agreed on. So the complex number is always represented like this. That means real part and imaginary part. Real part is, you can say, just a number, but the imagine, if you want to identify the imaginary part, so whenever you will see this suffix j, so you will understand that this particular part is the imaginary part. Now we'll see this particular thing with our Google Colab. Okay, numeric data types with Google Colab. Now first we are going to see integer data type. Okay, so let's say I declare a is equal to 5. Okay, so you want to see whether the a has this particular integer type or not. So there is a function, inbuilt function given by your Python to check the type of the variable that you have created, called as the type. Okay, so in this particular type, you will pass the variable that you have created. So what variable I have created? Its name is A. So I want to check the type of A. So if you run this particular cell, so it will say int. So that means your 5 is assigned to this particular variable A and its type is int. Okay, so this was your integer data type. If you want to see float data type, so let's say float is, I'm saying, sorry, I will say B, 9.0. So if again I want to check whether 9.0, what is the type of your B? So I will say again type. I will pass B and it will give you the float. Okay, so then this is the float data type. Next part that you are going to see is complex data type. Okay, so complex data type, that means say I told you it's divided into two parts, that is real part and imaginary part. So 1 plus 2j. Okay, so if I cross check the type of C, now it will say a complex. That means whatever we are creating, its type is cross checking with whatever we have learned right now. Okay, so these were your numeric data type. Next data type is a sequence data type, or you can say a non-numeric data type. A non-numeric data type. So strings are sequences of characters which are often enclosed in single quotes, double quotes, or triple quotes. So it's a, first of all, they are sequence of characters and they are enclosed in some kind of quotes. So here are some examples. So string of characters is hello and it is enclosed in double quotes. String of character is Python, it is enclosed in single quotes. Again, string of characters. So character can include numbers as well. So there are some form of characters. So 1, 2, 3, and it is again enclosed in double quotes. Okay. So here now we are going to see string. Now say my string is S. So I will say I'm going to enclose it in double quotes. Now it is a string of characters, collection of characters. So I will say Python. Okay. Now I want to see whether the type of S is string or not. So I will say type and S. Okay. So here it is giving us a string, that is str. So that means whatever string that I have created, it has got assigned to this particular variable and its type is also checking as string. Now the next part is a Boolean data type. So what is a Boolean data type? So Boolean data type means the Boolean data type represent only two possible values, that one is true and another is false. And what in the same you have to, if you have to use Boolean data type, you have to use it in this particular fashion only. That means the first letter of this particular word will be capital and first letter of this particular word will be capital. If you want to use it like that, you can see the same thing in your keyword list also. Okay. So here true is sometimes assigned. True is sometimes assigned as 1 and false is sometimes assigned as 0. Okay. So we will see examples as we go ahead. So this was until your data types. Okay. So next part we are going to see is operators. So what are operators? So there are various types of operators that are provided by Python in order to do some very important operations. Okay. So first type of operator that we are going to see is arithmetic operator. Okay. So first operator is arithmetic operator. So what are arithmetic operators? So arithmetic operators in Python are used to perform mathematical operations on numeric values, or sometimes numeric, it is also called as numeric operands. Okay, so these are the operators, these are its descriptions, the examples and its description. Okay, so we'll see one by one how it works. Okay, so we have two operands, or we are, for simplicity, we are going to say we have two numerical values which are in x and y variable. Okay, so first operator that you have is called as the addition operator. So what does this addition operator do? It adds two numerical operands or two numeric values. So how it is represented? It represented is something like this: x plus y. So for example, if we have assigned the values x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 3, then x plus y will be calculated as 10 plus 3, which is equal to 30. Okay, so this was your first operator. The second operator is subtraction operator. So subtraction operator subtracts the second operand from the first. That means x minus y. That means if we have said x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 3, so 10 minus 3 will give you the 7. Next operator, multiplication. It multiplies your two operands. That means x into y. That means x into y. That means x is assigned 10, y is assigned 3. So 10 into 3, so multiplication is 30. Okay. Next, division or float. So it divides the first operand by second. It returns the floating point. This is our actual division. Okay. So x is equal to 10 divided by 3. So this is the floating point. This is the floating point result that this particular division is going to return. That means your result will be 3.33. Now the next part is very important, floor division. So floor division again works as a division only. That means your first operand, it divides first operand by the second and it returns the floor result. Now what is the floor result? So instead of returning 3.33, it just returns the integer part of the division. So what is the integer part of the division? It is 3. So when you say floor division, that means 10 floor division 3, it is going to return the integer part of the result only. Okay. The next operator is modulus. So modulus operator means it returns the remainder of the division. So remainder of the division, so x mod y, this operator is called as the modulus, or in short it is called as the mod operator. Okay, so x mod y, that is 10 mod 3, so it is going to return, as I have told you, it is going to return the remainder. So remainder is 1. So it is going to return 1. Now exponential, that means it raises first operand to the power of the second. So your first operand is 10. It is going to raise that operand, that is 10 raised to 3. It is 1000. So now we are going to see this thing with our Google Colab. Okay. So here, let's say, we'll say x is equal to 10, y is equal to 3. Okay. The values are assigned. So next we are going to say print, I want to see x plus y. So x plus y, so this is the addition operator. So it is going to return you the result. So x plus y is 30. Okay, so this operator adds two numerical values. These numerical values can be anything. It can be your integer values, it can be your float values, it can be your complex values. Anything that is numeric, you can add it, or you can have operation, arithmetic operation done on them. Okay, so next thing is print x minus y. That means it is going to subtract. It is going to do subtract operation. So 10 minus 3, which is going to nothing but 7. Next thing is print x into x into y. Now x into y means 10 into 3, that means 30. The next thing that we are going to see is print x divided by y. Okay, so here it is going to say 3.333. Next, if we want to see the floor division, so the floor division is x, operator is double slash. So if so what what does your floor division operator returns? It returns the integer part of your remainder. Sorry, division. So it is going to return integer part of your division. So integer part of your division is 3. So it is going to return 3. Now next is mod. So mod, what it returns? So it returns the remainder of your division. So x percent y, that is x mod y. So x mod y, it is going to return you the remainder. So x mod y, that means 10 divided by 3 is 1. So the remainder of this particular division is 1. Next is print x raised to y. So that means 10 raised to 3. So 10 raised to 3, that means it is going to return 1000. So these are all the results that we have previously seen on the slide. We are getting the same results here. Okay. So this was, next part we are going to see is comparison operators. So what is comparison operator? So comparison operators, they're also known as your relational operators. So that are used to compare two values in your Python. So they compare two values. If they are similar, it will return true. If they are not, it will return false. So they are going to return you the Boolean value. So as I have explained it to you earlier, Boolean can have only two values, either true or false. So based on the comparison return result, it is going to return the Boolean value. So what are the operators? First operator is equal to equal to. Now there is a difference between equal and equal to equal to. This equal to, this is a comparison operator. It compares whether x is equal to y. Okay. So if left variable is equal to your right variable, it is going to give you the result as true. If it is not equal to, it is not the same, it is going to give you the result false. Now we will see with example. We will see the same example in Google Colab. Okay. So let's say 5 equal to 5. Okay. If I say shift enter or run, it is going to return a Boolean result called as true, because this is equal to this. Let's say now I have created two variables, name as w9, and let's say e is equal to 3, and now I have to check whether w is equal to e. So what do you think it should result? So it should result in false. So if I say w equal to e, it is going to return a false result because w is not equal to e. Okay, so this was your first operator. Now the second operator is your not equal to. First is equal to operator, then second is not equal to. So not equal to is operator is represented by exclamation point followed by your assignment operator. So x is not equal to y. This is how you represent it. So if 5x is not equal to y, it is going to return you true. If it is, then it is going to result false. Okay. So we will see the same example. Is 5 not equal to 3? So it should return true. Correct? 5 is not equal to 3. That's why it is returning true. If I say, is 3 not equal to 3? So what do you think it should return? So it should return false, because 3 is equal to 3 in fact. But we are using not operator, so that's why it is returning a false. Okay, so it is returning the correct result. Next thing that we are going to see is greater than or less than. Greater than sign is something like this, less than is something like this. So if 7 is greater than 3, it is going to return yes, 7 is greater than 3, it is going to return true. And for less than purpose is true, 2 is less than 4. So yes, 2 is less than 4. So it is going to return true. So we'll see. 7 greater than 4. So 7 is greater than 4, so it is going to return true. And 2 is less than 4. It is going to return true. Now one more thing that I want to show you is 3 less than 3. Now 3 is not less than 3, 3 is not greater than 3, what correct statement is 3 is equal to 3. So what do you think this particular statement should result in? It should result in false. Okay. So this thing that you need to remember is 3 is less than, 3 is not less than 3, 3 is not greater than 3, 3 is equal to 3. That's why this particular statement is resulting into the false. Now, the next statement is greater than or equal to. So, greater than or equal to. So, greater than or equal to. It is represented by greater than sign along with the equal to sign. Same is less than or equal to. So, it is represented by less than sign and equal to sign. So, is 5 greater than or equal to 5? It is greater than or equal to. So it is going to check both conditions. Here, earlier signs were greater than or less than. It was strictly checking whether that particular number is greater than or less than another number. Okay, but in this particular thing, it is going to check greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Okay, so if 5 is greater than or equal to 5, so 5 is not greater than, but 5 is equal to 5. So it is going to return you true. Okay. Now we'll see less than or equal to example. So less than or equal to 4 is less than or equal to 3. Now 4 is not less than 3. 4 is not equal to 3. So it is going to return you the false. Okay. So same thing we will see with our Google Colab. So 5 is less than or equal to 5. So it should, according to our thing, whatever we are seeing, it should return true. Correct? And 4 is greater than or equal to 3. So no, it's not greater than or equal to 3. So it should return false. Oh, sorry. So 4 is greater than or equal to 3. So 4 is obviously greater than, but it is not equal to 3. So it is satisfying one condition. So it is going to return true. But if 4 is less than or equal to 3, so it is going to give you the false result. Okay. If you change the operators, the result will change. Okay. So next thing, again, we will see some more operators. So the next operator that we are going to see is the assignment operator. So assignment operator. So these operators are used to assign values to variables. So this particular operator that we have seen while creating a variables also. Here variable name is equal to value. This particular equal to is called as the assignment operator. It assigns value to the variable. Okay. Same thing is done in assignment operator. So x equal to 5. That means this 5 is assigned to the x. Now there are some more assignment operators. Plus is equal to, minus is equal to, into is equal to, divided by is equal to. So we will see how it works. So their representation is x plus equal to 3. Now if you want to see equivalent of that, it is x is equal to x plus 3. Okay. So here we have seen x is equal to 5 and our assignment operator is x plus equal to 3. So its equivalent was x is equal to x plus 3. So x is equal to x plus 3 means 5 plus 3, which will result in 8. So let's see with our Google Colab. Okay. So I will say now v is equal to 5. V plus equal to 3. And I will say print v. Okay. So here I wanted to tell you one more thing. Here, whenever this particular calculation is done, this particular 8, this value is assigned to this particular variable. Okay. So that means after the whole calculation is complete, this particular result will get assigned to this particular variable that we are talking about. That means x plus is equal to 3. That means 5 plus 3, the result will be 8, and that particular result will be stored in your x variable. So in our case, it will be stored in v. Okay. So let's see. Correct? This is nothing but v is equal to v plus 3, which is nothing but five plus 3, which will result in 8, and that 8 will be stored in v. Now the same thing will happen with your subtraction operator, multiplication operator, and division operator. That means it will subtract the right operand. That means it will subtract the right operand from the left operand, that is x, and it will store the result into the left operand. Okay, subtraction will be done and result will be stored into the left operand. Same, multiplication will be done and multiplication will be stored into this particular operator. Same, the division will be done and division will be stored into this particular operator. Now we will see with Google Colab. Let's say k is equal to, let's say 5. Now k minus is equal to 3. So what will be here? So it will be k is equal to k minus 3. So initially k is 5. So 5 minus 3, which will result in, it should result in 2. So let's print k and let's see whether it is, we are getting correct result or not. Yes, whatever result we have calculated, we are getting the same result. That means the subtraction will be done something like this and the result will be stored in this particular k variable only. So that's why I'm writing print k. Okay, same thing is going to happen with your division. So for division, let's see multiplication and division. So first we'll see multiplication. So let's say d is equal to 4. D into is equal to, say, 2. So here it's going to say d is equal to d into 2 into 2. It should result in 4 into 2, that is 4 into 2 should result in 8. Okay, so I will say print D because the result of this particular multiplication is stored into the left operand or left variable. So left, on the left it is D, so I'm going to say print D. So yes, it is printing 8. Now we'll see with the division also. So for division, let's say y is equal to, again we are going to say y divided by is equal to 2. So that will be so it will result in 4 divided by 2. Okay, so next thing that I want to do is print that particular variable. So our result is in y, so I want to print y. So yes, it is written 2.0. So it is returning 2.0 because it is considering the result as floating point. So the result is always returned as a floating point number. So 2.0. Okay. So this was your assignment operators. Okay. Now next operator that we are going to see is logical operator. Okay. So what are logical operators? The logical operators are used to combine multiple conditions or values, and we will evaluate that particular Boolean thing. Okay, we will evaluate that particular Boolean expression. So they are commonly used in conditional statements or loop to make decision based multiple conditions. Okay, so this is very complex. We will divide it in small parts and we will understand what is going on. Okay, so first of all we will see what are operators. So operators are and, or, and not. These are three main logical operators. So logical operators. So returns. Now what are they returning? So it returns true if both statements are true. Okay. It returns true when both statements are true. So x is less than 5 and x is less than 10. Now we are considering our x is equal to 4. So 4 is less than 5. This particular statement is true or not? Yes, it is true. 4 is less than 10. This particular statement is true or not? Yes, it is true. And according to the description of this particular operator, it is returning true if both of the statements are true. So true and true will return true only. Okay. So this is the result. So now we will see. I will first show you how it is working. These are logical operators. Okay. First is and. Okay. So let's say I have true, though the description is if both statements are true, it is returning true. If one of the statement is false or both of the statements are false, in any other case, it will return false. If it will return true whenever two statements are true only. So that means if it is something like if the combination is something like this, true or false, it will return false. Or if combination is something like this, false and true, it will return again false. And if combination is something like this, false, it will return false only. Only case in which it will return true is both of the statements will be true. In any other cases, in any other combination, in case of any other combination, it is going to return false only. Okay, so this is your AND operator. So let's see with the help of example. Now we will see same thing with the help of Google Colab. Okay, so first we will see we are going to see the same example that we have seen on the screen. That is, if 4 is less than 5. So is 4 less than 5? Yes, it's true. Then we are going our next statement was 4 less than 10. So is 4 less than 10? Yes, it is true. Now we have to see whether ANDing, what is the result of this particular ANDing. So 4 less than 5 and now 4 less than 5 result is true, 4 less than 10 result is true. So it should result in true only. Okay. So let's say if I change this condition, 4 is greater than 10. So what is going to happen? So now first statement is true. Here we will say 4 is greater than 10. So 4 is 4 greater than 10? No. So now first statement is true and another statement is false. So according to what we have screen on the screen, this particular thing is happening, true and false. So it should result in false only. So true and false, it should result in false. Okay. Now here I say 4 is less than 10 and here I change this particular thing. Now 4 is 4 greater than 5? No. Now this particular statement is false. Is 4 greater than 10? Yes, this particular statement is 4 less than 10. So yeah. Now we will make the changes here. Now 4 is 4 greater than 5? Its result is false. Is 4 less than 10? Its result is true. So this is according to what we have seen, this particular condition is happening, that is false and true. So it should result in false. So if we execute this, yes, it is returning false only. Now let's say I change both condition to false. 4 is greater than 5, this is a false statement. 4 is greater than 10, this is again a false statement. So according to this scenario, which condition is happening? This last condition is happening. So false, false. So if we enter this, so it will give you the false result only. So AND operator will return true boolean only if both of the statements are true. In any other cases, it will return you the false only. Okay. So this was your first logical operator. Now we are going to see our second logical operator, which is nothing but OR. Okay. So OR statement, OR operator. So it returns true if one of the statement is true. Here in the previous operator, the condition was both statement should be true. In this particular thing, return if one of the statement is true. If one of the statement is true, it is going to return true as the result. Okay. So this is your OR operator. So here, let's see the example. So consider x is equal to 4. So is 4 less than 5 or 4 less than 4? Okay. So is 4 less than 5? Yes, true. Is 4 less than 4? No, it's false. True or false? This is the logical thing that this is the statement you are getting, true or false. It is returning true if one of the statement is true. So one of the statement is indeed true. So it is going to return the result as true. So here we will again see it with example. Okay. We will again see it with Google Colab. So before going to the Google Colab, let's see OR. Okay, next our statement is, next our logical operator is OR. Okay, so here what they have said is any one of the statement is true, it is going to return true. That means if both are true, it is going to return true. Okay, if one of the statement is going to be true, it is going to return true. In this case also, it is going to return true only because one of the statement is again true. But if both of the statement is false, it is going to return false. Okay, so this is how your OR works. Both one of the statement, if one of the statement is true, it is going to return true, otherwise it is going to return false. Okay, so we'll see it with example now in the Google Colab. So let's say 4 less than 5. So 4 less than 5, this condition is true. Then let's say 4 greater than 4. This particular condition is false. Now if I combine these statements, that means if I used OR operation, one of the statement is true, so it should return true. Okay, let's say if I say now 4 greater than 5, so 4 greater than 5 is false, 4 greater than 4 again false. So in case of both false statements, it is going to return false. Okay, so this is how your OR works. Okay, so the next statement is your NOT. So NOT returns the opposite of the result. So whatever you have calculated, its opposite result will be returned. For example, let's say x is equal to, I say, true. Okay, and if I say print not of x, so not of x means it is going to return false. It is going to return the opposite of the result. Okay, this was the simple example. Now we will see with this particular example. Okay, so it returns the opposite of the result. So opposite of the result. So x is less than 5. That is 4 less than 5? Yes. Is 4 less than 10? Yes. So that means true and true. So true and true. In case of and, it returns true if both statements are true. So both statements are true, so it is going to return true. So not of true, it is going to return as false. Okay, so we'll see this example again with So this is our statement. Okay. So is 4 less than 5? Here. Is 4 less than 5? So yes. So this is true. Okay. Is 4 less than 10? So yes, it is again true. So here, if we say in this particular thing, true and true. So if we just see without considering not, if we just see the result of this true and true, so true and true, what is the result? True returns true if both of the statements are true. So it is going to return true, not of true. That means it is going to return false. Okay. So the same example we will now see with the help of Google Colab. Okay. Not means it will return the opposite result. Now I am directly going to write 4 less than 5 and 4 less than 10. So not of this result will be false. So this explanation for this particular false result is given according is something like this. Okay. It will first solve whatever it is there in the parenthesis. It will completely solve it, and the last stage will be to negate the result. That means whatever result we are getting, we are going to negate it. Okay. Now this was the part until the operators. Now we have seen what are the data types that are available initially. What are the operators that are available with us? Introductory part that we have seen. So the next part that we are going to see is we are going to solve some examples or solve some assignments depending on the problems, depending on whatever we have seen. Okay, so we are going to see 3 problems. So first problem is we are going to calculate the area of the rectangle. Okay, second part is we are going to convert temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay, third thing we are going to do is to check if number is even or odd. Okay, so let's see one by one how it works. So our first problem statement. Calculate area of rectangle. Okay, so if I want to calculate the area of the rectangle, first I have to know what is the formula for calculating the area of rectangle. So area of rectangle is calculated by area is equal to length into width. Okay, so let's say in problem I have set length variable as 8 and width variable as 8. So if I calculate the area, which is will be 8 into 8, which will be 64. Okay, now we'll see whatever calculations that we have done manually, whether these calculations match the programming. Okay, so let's go to Google Colab. So first thing that I want to do is calculate area of rectangle. So area is equal to length into width. Okay, this was our formula. So first I have to set up variables. So length, let's say 8, width, let's say 8. So the next part is, now the calculations are done, but the calculations, the result is getting stored into the variable called area. So I have to print that variable so that I can see the result. So print area. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So this is how your first program looks. So what a requirement was, you have to calculate the area of the rectangle. So length is 8, width is 8, and area is length, are according to what we know, area of rectangle is calculated by length into width. So print area, so that will be 64. Okay. Now the next thing that we want to calculate is convert temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's see how we are going to see that. So the next problem statement, convert Celsius temperature to Fahrenheit. Okay, so first thing that we need is formula. Okay, so the formula I know is we want to convert it into Fahrenheit. Celsius into 9 divided by 5 plus 32. Okay, so this is the formula for converting your Celsius temperature into the Fahrenheit temperature. So let's say our Celsius temperature is something like 30. So how it will proceed? So let's say Fahrenheit. Celsius is 30 into 9 divided by 5 plus 32. So whatever these calculations are, it will be the result in Fahrenheit. Okay. So let's see with help of our Google Colab what result we are getting. Okay. So first thing is So this is our Celsius, which was 30. Now our formula is Fahrenheit. Celsius into 9 and divided by 5 was 32. So our result is getting stored into Fahrenheit variable. So this variable, I will say key, I want to print it. Okay. So control V. So if we run this, okay, it's going, okay, it's giving me an error. So Fahrenheit, I have made an error. So what was the error? I have to use the same name as this Fahrenheit into this particular print statement. Okay, now I think it is right. So this is your result. So 30 degrees Celsius is equal to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. So this was our second thing. Now the next problem statement that we are going to see is to check whether a number is even or odd. Now, if you want, in statistically speaking, our problem statement, this is our problem statement. We have to check whether a number is even or odd. Okay, so even or odd, let's say our given number is 4. So statistically, how do you check whether this particular number is even or odd? First of all, we divide that number, 4 divided by 2. Next thing, we check remainder, right? Remainder of the division. So what will be the remainder of the division? It will be 0. So statistically, if remainder is 0, then the number is even, right? Otherwise, it is odd number. Okay, so this is how we check it. So the same thing that we have seen just now, we are going to see it with Google Colab. Okay, so before going into that, we have seen, now we want to check the remainder of the division. So for remainder of the division, we have seen arithmetic operators. In that, we have seen one operator named as modulus. So modulus operator returns the remainder of the division. So we are going to use this operator to check whether given number is even or odd. Okay, so given number is 4. We have to check whether given number is even or odd. So number equal to no थांब. So number mod 2 आता number mod 2 जर equal to 0 असेल, if it is 0, if number mod 2 equal to 0, then it is going to return true. That means yes, this particular number is an even number. If the result is true, that particular number is even. Okay, so let's say instead of number I have given 45. So is 45 mod 2 equal to 0? So 45 mod 2 is not equal to 0. So that's why it is going to return false. So that means false means it is not an even number. So it means it is an odd number. So one more operator that we have learned, that is equal to that we have used here. We are comparing this result with this result. That is number mod 2's result will be equated with 0. Okay. So two operators that we are using in one sentence, that is first operator is mod operator. So mod operator, what it does is it gives us the remainder of the result. So remainder of the result is compared with the 0. If the remainder of the result is 0, that means it is an even number. And if the remainder of the result is not 0, that means it is a odd number. So true means even number and false means odd number. So whenever I am giving an even number, so it is returning us true, and whenever I am giving odd number, it is returning us false. Okay, so this was our problem statements. So according to what the problem statements that we have seen just now, these problem statements are fairly simple and very easy also. So to calculate the area of rectangle, what we have done is, we know the formula. We just put the values into the formula and we got the result. Same thing, we are converting temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So we are giving the formula and it is converting 30 degrees Celsius, equivalent is 86 Fahrenheit. Next, we are checking whether a number is even or odd. So number is even or odd. How are we checking? We are using two operators. First mod operator, second is equal to operator. So first mod operator is giving us the remainder of the division. If the remainder of the division is 0, then it is returning true. That means that particular number is even. If remainder of the operator is 1, that means that particular number is not even, that is an odd number, it is returning as the false. Okay. So this is your problem statements. Okay. So the next thing that we are going to see is best practices and tips. So first thing that we are going to see is naming conventions for our variables. So we have already seen the rules. So what were the rules? So the rules were something like variables can contain letters. So alphabets, any alphabet, small case, capital case is allowed. Digits are allowed, underscore is also allowed. The combination of everything is allowed. But the letter variable should start with the letter or then underscore. They cannot start with the digit. Also, variables are very, very case sensitive. Just now in programming also we have seen, you have to be very, very careful because this is a very case sensitive thing. And the last thing was you cannot use reserve keywords while creating the variable names. Now we are going to see some best practices for variables. So whenever you are creating a variable name, choose a name that accurately describes the purpose of that particular variable, function or class. Okay. For this particular case, just remember, choose the name that accurately describes the purpose of that particular variable. So for example, I have to declare one variable called max temperature. So I will declare it something like that, something like this. This is a combination of alphabet along with underscore. So it is a very informative variable name. It is giving me whatever information uh, I'm going to need. I can understand it by looking at the variable name, that is max temperature is equal to 30. But this is a good practice. You can also, this is also correct form of creating a variable, but empty, if you are the developer, you can understand what empty stands for. But if you are working with the team, and if your code is shared with some other guy from your team, and if that person is looking at your code, that person cannot immediately understand what empty stands for. So instead of using small variable names, use a variable name which describes the purpose of that particular variable. Okay. Next, use lowercase for variables and functions. So whenever you are declaring variables or functions, it should always be in a lowercase with words separated by underscore. Okay. So user underscore name is equal to John. This is a good practice. But user underscore name, this is a correct thing, but this is called as a bad practice, because a variable name should be in a lowercase with separated underscores. Okay, not like the snake case. Okay, so in conclusion, today we have seen introduction of the Python. So introduction of the Python, in that particular thing we have seen the Python was created by Guido von Rossum, which was first released in 1991. Okay, in 1991, it was released. So the main design philosophy was they wanted to create a language which is simple, easy to use, and easy to learn. Okay, so that was the base of your Python. Then next we have seen the Python data types. So initially we have seen the Python data types. So we have categorized into two, initially categorized into two things, that is numerical and non-numerical. Numerical, in numerical we have seen integer type, floating type, complex type, boolean type. In non-numerical, we have seen the string or non-numerical, or you can say sequence type. So both are the same things. So in that we have seen the strings. So next thing we have seen the Python operators. So in Python operators we have seen many operators, and along with that we have seen their related implementations also. So we have seen arithmetic operators, logical operators, then we have seen relational operators. These operators we have seen today. Depending on whatever we have seen, we have also solved some examples, and we have seen how what we have learned can be implemented using this exercise. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to Byte by Byte. My name is Asmita, I am your host. I'm thrilled to start this new journey with all of you. Our first playlist is going to be Python. Python is one of the powerful and versatile programming languages in the world. So if you are a beginner who is attempting to dive into the world of coding, or you are an experienced professional who just wants to brush up your skills, so this playlist got you covered. So after Python, we will dive into fascinating world of machine learning. So this is a very new field with endless possibilities. So this is going to be our next phase. So if you like what you see, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.